Lily Bainbridge. Have you lost your marbles? There's a special on marbles on aisle 8.
Daddy?
There's my little girl.
Got a kiss for Daddy.
There is a rhythmic element to it. There's a theatrical element to it with sliding shelves.
We shot with real pickles.
The real pickle juice.
The studio where we were shooting smelled like pickles for about a week.
The guy dancing was not planned. I saw this guy and I'm like, this guy is amazing. And I asked him, can you dance? And he said, no. I said, okay, dance.
I'm Marc Bernardin.
And I'm Princess Weeks.
And this is the official It Welcome to Derry podcast.
We're back for episode 2.
And the scares just keep coming.
The womb monster, the pickle daddy. I mean, truly what is happening in Derry?
I don't know, but we are diving into all of it today with some incredible guests. We're back with executive producers Andy and Barbara Muschietti, and then we'll meet creature creator Vincent Proce, who'll tell us what goes into developing some of Derry's most unforgettable monsters. So grab your flashlight and keep your wits about you.
Because we're heading back into the darkness for episode 2, The Thing in the Dark, which was written by Austin Guzman and directed by Andy Muschietti.
And hey, we're about to get into spoiler territory for episode 2, so you've been warned.
Let's get into it. We got opening credits now.
I know. They're so pretty. They're so loaded with surreptitious evil.
Imagery, symbolism, Norman Rockwellism. It was a fun little romp, just kind of like looking at it and being like, what's that? What's this?
Yeah. And it does speak to what the show is, which is, on the surface, it feels relatively innocuous. And then you start peeling back layers, and then it's awful.
Yeah. And they reminded us at the very beginning, like, those kids are dead. Like, in case you thought that maybe little Susie's hand was just a flesh wound, it's like, nah, she gone.
Yeah. Was it all a dream? No, it wasn't. But yeah, we start the episode proper, episode 102, The Thing in the Dark, with apparently the one block in Derry that passes for the South Side.
I know. It's all prestigious, and then it's like, oh no, this is the Negro corner.
Yeah, just tenement city in this one little block. You know, and I think that does lead us, and it will lead us to a discussion. This is the first episode that really, really digs deep in dealing with race in Derry and what it means to be an outsider, what it means to be an insider, what it means to, you know, walk these streets and navigate it and deal with the systems of Derry as a person of color. You know, and it's interesting. It is a thing to wrestle to the ground if you're going to tell this story. And you decide you want to tell a story that is dealing with, you know, 1962 in somewhat rural America and what it feels like, even in the Northeast. Like, it's not the South, but it's not Mayberry either.
Exactly. And it's like when they made that line, I was like, well, the North had slavery too for a little bit. Never forget that the hands aren't clean up here either as a proud Northeasterner. And no, I really love that dynamic and how it adds on to the already existing issues of like class, because within this Black family, we get also another underlying tension. You know, you have the military father who has this very strict, masculine, rudimentary kind of life. And we get implication that Charlotte, the wife, was an activist and is someone who really does go against the grain. And then we have this young boy who is nerdy and introverted and doesn't care about baseball, wants to look at the stars. So even in this Black show, we're having so many different contrasts between middle class and lower class and who gets to navigate safely in Derry.
Yeah, and then you have the Grogans. Like, you meet Ronnie, one of the two survivors of the movie theater mutant baby massacre
Poor
from
thing.
last episode. And then her sort of family unit. Like, you know, her dad, Hank, who runs the movie theater, who is clearly like suspect number one of these murders. And Granny.
I love her.
I mean, I love her, and I love the tension in that family of like, she should go to school. She can't hide. It's like, I'm a suspect. They're going to come for me. And Veronica was like, I just saw people die, and nobody's talking to me about my trauma.
Exactly. Like, everyone is right, and everyone is still doing one thing kind of wrong.
Yeah. You know, I mean, the one thing that I struggled with a little bit is Charlotte, like a woman who, like, we meet her saying, I drove the speed limit to get here. That's why it took me so long, because I'm not going to provocate anybody by doing anything out of line. I'm sure there's a green book in her glove compartment.
Absolutely.
You know, like, but then should know better than to step into a fight between a bunch of random white hooligans on the street.
Especially white boys, like there's so much tension there. And I think, this show is in really good conversation with two other HBO shows, which is Watchmen and also Lovecraft Country, because they're both kind of navigating this idea of Black visibility as the other from inside and out. And I think, like, to your point, I was thinking about that. Like, why is she driving the speed limit and yet is going to put herself in the middle of this situation? And I wonder if that's kind of also another part of just existing. Like, you want to do the right thing, but it comes back to haunt you. And I feel like I was nervous every time she was on screen and doing anything. When she was getting flowers, I was scared. When they showed that alleyway, I was scared. When she goes into the butcher shop, I'm like, where's the microaggression? It definitely puts you on edge.
Very much so. Very much so. And I appreciate it for doing it, but it does every now and again it does like the get out gene starts to trigger. And it's like, girl, do not run into that house. Do not engage this horror. Do not. You should know better. Exactly. But then again, it's a horror show, and it has to be about people who do things despite knowing better. So I get it. And I am here for Will. For Will Hanlon.
Yes.
Like the proto-nerdiest blurred I've ever seen. Just kid who's like eating lunch in the hall because he can't sit in the cafeteria, and he finds another, we're jumping ahead, but my heart breaks for this kid because he is so alone. He is so alone, like his parents don't understand him, or his mom kind of does, but she can't bond with him.
Right.
Dad 100% doesn't,
Got him a tie.
And, another baseball mitt he's never going to use. It's clear that they are not on any page together. They want to be, but they have no idea how to be.
And even at school, he is one of two Black people that we've seen. So when he enters this space, he can't even have the illusion of safety that some of his peers might have, because as soon as he goes there, they pick on him and he's getting microaggressed by the teacher. It's like it starts just from the beginning. So there's no break.
There's no break at all. And that school seems to be populated by not the best kids. Especially poor Marge,
oh girl, a grifter.
Marge, she's like a remora who just glomps onto whatever power structure is there and then tries to inveigle herself into it. And when being a mean girl is all you got, and you got to calibrate your mean to the other mean girls, Marge doesn't have that skill yet, so she's always doing too much.
Are you talking about me? Sorry, I can't breathe my mouth.
Oh my God, that's what he sounds like.
Does something smell? I can't
It's not funny.
Does anybody have a tissue?
Enough, Marge. Yeah, don't be mean.
She was just so crestfallen. I'm like, yeah, girl, because this is not your squad. I don't know why you try to be part of the patty cakes. Like, girl, this is not your equally yoked tribe. That band kid wants it bad, though. You should go talk to him.
Mouth stuffed band kid. It's just all about it.
He was like, them glasses do something for me. I was like, Marge, go find your people, because your people are not these girls who just start randomly playing a patty cake in the middle of the cafeteria. And I was just like, I didn't go to a PWI until predominantly white institution for our listeners until college. So I'm like, is this what happens in the suburbs? I don't know. Random patty cake in the middle of the day.
Yeah, 1962 was a hell of a time, apparently.
So I see.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's just interesting. So we get Will's story, and then with Leroy, we have this whole other tension with him and the other Black soldiers post the weird hazing ritual, I guess, that happened to him. I'm just like, is this assimilation? Is this what the sacrifice is for? Because it's just so weird what's going on with him in this army base.
Yeah. I did appreciate, though, as we're examining the different levels of Blackness in white spaces and the attendant horror that can come with those. Hallorann clearly knows dick about being a Black man in a place at this time.
Good one.
Because he's in that bar, rolling with two other airmen, and they're just drinking. And then Dick notices stuff. Dick is like, it's time to go.
Yeah.
We can get but so drunk in this space, and once that dude shows up and just approaches the table, get your shit. We gotta go. And I appreciate Dick Hallorann. I always do.
Yeah.
And I think any story that we're telling that involves Dick Hallorann, and we talked a bit about it last episode, the idea that this is going to be the dude we will meet later, much later in The Shining, it's always fascinating to me, like what his abilities are for him, like what it does for him, what it unlocks for him.
Yeah.
And the show seems to be treating it a bit like it's a gift that nobody else understands, much in the way that in the, nascent period of the 1900s, white establishment would treat Black people with talent.
Yeah.
With musical talent, with dancing talent, with whatever that is. It was the, can we exploit your talent? And then you, as a Black person who has that talent, how can you exploit them back?
Right.
And so watching him sort of navigate those spaces, a little bit assured in his place. I'm Dick Hallorann, he says to the guy at the guard post. I'm here on a super secret spy assignment.
You be sure to let him know Dick Hallorann's out here. Got myself some special privileges.
I was like, that's right, baby.
Yeah, you tell him. And he shows his credentials and suddenly all the doors open up for him. And like that is a thing that does not happen for a Black man in 1962 in the military, despite what JFK's, fondest wishes are, despite, any sort of lip service to integrating the armed services. It's you're special. And so what does that get you? And then what does that cost you?
Exactly. And it's so perfectly contrasted with Ronnie's father, who the police are trying to pin this entire, movie theater slaughter on because he's the Negro, which the kinder way that they would have said it in real life. But I think that just speaks to just the danger of putting yourself in that space regardless. Because if you don't have that exceptionalism, if you don't have that thing that is ready to be exploited, you are the first person in line to be torn aside.
You think I'm not doing everything I can to place him there that night? I've got no evidence, and he's got an alibi. This is America.
This ain't America. This is Derry.
And I think that is also so painful because Ronnie trusted these kids. She was helping these white kids out. She was helping them do the thing. And now because of that, and because of Lily's fear of being reinstitutionalized, which is valid, her father is at risk for losing his life. And those tensions are just so rich and painful. And I think now that the focus of the show on the children's side is Will and Ronnie and Lily, I think we have a really, the most loser club you're ever going to get.
Yeah, what does it mean to be a loser in 1962? These are your losers.
Here we go. It's painful. And the birthing horror that we got again, I mean...
Yo, what?
That was crazy. I was just kind of slowly flowing going back because I just couldn't believe it was the umbilical cord. The umbilical cord.
I mean, childbirth was clearly on somebody's mind in the writer's room because now this is 2 episodes with a horrific childbirth scene.
Someone watched The Brood and they were like, this is good. We got to, let's build on
Hold my beer, Rosemary's Baby.
Exactly.
We are going hard in the paint. And they do. It's deeply uncomfortable, super gross. And more than that, the imagery is somewhat, because it's all about finding and perverting safe spaces. It's the world is closing in on Ronnie, and what does she do? She wants to just go to bed and forget everything. And then suddenly bed becomes the horror. Bed becomes the nightmare. And then mom becomes the nightmare. All of that stuff is just chef's kiss.
Exactly. Especially dead mom trauma, the guilt of childbirth, all of that wrapped together. And just your point about the bed is so perfect because I don't know if you're the same, but I'm the kind of person where I cannot sleep if my feet are not underneath the sheets. Because if you put your feet out, they can grab you. The clown will grab you.
I did love that, of the various colors we get in this show, small-time Americana, Norman Rockwell, we're also getting Indiana Jones in, a big bad way. And, the minute the dude walks out of the tent and you're in the middle of a dig site, I was like, oh, yes, Mr. Jones.
Yes. The scope of it also has my Stephen King fan brain working because when we see that tent, we also see some indigenous characters in the back watching. So I'm like, what's being uncovered? Are we getting a little Pet Cemetery-ish right now with the idea that the dead can, sometimes dead is better. And so we're just seeing this world expand. And I think my big thing is we're only getting 4 or 6 episodes. Where are we going? I'm so curious to where this is going to be and how everything is going to tie together, because there's just so much happening and so much of it has roots in King's lore.
It does. And I think, you know, the trick for a show like this, which begins by like firing a bunch of storylines out that don't seem connected, is finding ways to connect them, because it has to be that way. Like a story can't just continue to just operate on a bunch of parallel tracks. So it's, when are these storylines going to intersect? And this episode was really good about beginning those relationships when you get Ronnie and Will into tension. Now it's like, oh, okay, here's how these two stories connect. These are characters who hadn't met each other before. Now they're stuck in a room to watch Lily be brought, like hauled away by the cops. Right? You know, we get, you know, Leroy Hanlon, and then in a scene with the general, and then there's Dick Hallorann. It's like, that's how these stories are going to connect. You know, we get Charlotte going into town to buy another toy for her son, and she walks into a store that's run by a First Nations woman.
Right.
And it's like,
Rose.
Oh, now granted, I don't want to say that every Indigenous person knows every other Indigenous person. But if you're going to tell me that there's a bunch of Indigenous teens in the woods with binoculars watching weird shit at the dig site, and they're not related to this Indigenous woman who runs the store, like, it's small worldy, but this is the kind of world we're telling. And watching all of these storylines, all these characters begin to collide with one another is where the joy happens, right? Like, how are they going to inform each other's stories?
Exactly. And that they're kind of sometimes can be in conflict. I thought the confrontation between Lily and Ronnie in the cafeteria amongst the patty cakiness was so fascinating, because one of the things about the original It is that we really had like one Black character who was kind of amidst this like white space. And now we are seeing that in a similar way, with the tension right up of like Lily and Ronnie may be the same age, they may both be children, but because Lily is a white girl, she has so much more power in this situation than she realizes.
You don't tell them that you assume they're gonna decide what happened that night and take my dad away.
And if I do tell them, they'll think I'm crazy and take me away.
She doesn't realize it, and I think it's so frustrating. Like, I felt so deeply for Ronnie to be trying to explain that, like, you are putting my father, my family in danger because of your fear.
You don't know, Ronnie, what it was like in that place. I can't go through that again.
This is my dad's life we're talking about.
And her fear is also legitimate too, because that place looks scary. The Juniper
Hill.
That place looks like a video game horror movie. But at the same time, it's these competing tensions of like gender and race being brought into this very macabre situation. It's just like, it's so good.
Listen, it seems, and I'm not sure if this is going to be the way we go forward or not, but so far we have 2 episodes, each of which has 2 big scare scenes. And for me, like, as awful as that first one with Ronnie in the womb is, this grocery store scene, I mean...
Yeah, I couldn't even eat pickles on my sandwich. My Popeye's chicken sandwich.
What got it for me, though, was like, yeah, you start seeing as Lily's walking through, she's doing shopping for her mom in the local supermarket, and you see corridors begin to wall off and aisles begin to shift in place. But it's when people started watching her walk.
I hated that so much.
And there's that lady whose head just like tilts to the side in like the wrong way. I was like, yo, you gotta get out of here.
And then the pickles. And when I saw the pickles, I was like, oh no, her pickle jar, Dad.
Daddy?
And all I could think is, thank God I already don't like pickles, because if I did, that would just be haunting me for ages. It was just so unnerving. When the face came together.
There's my little girl.
That's my little girl. I was like, oh my God. She going back to the asylum, because there's just no way.
Pretty much. But yeah, the weird octopus pickle dad sort of slithering across the floor.
Just one kiss for Barbara.
It's just awful. It's just the worst.
It's effective horror because it ties into the trauma of loss, of being alive, of guilt, of survivor's guilt. Even those cereal boxes, like, it's not just arbitrary creepiness. It is this guilt of, my friends are gone, I'm still here, and I have no idea what to do about it.
Yeah, and the mirroring of those 2 scenes, it is both Ronnie on her back, backing away from her mother. It is Lily on her back, backing away from her father, as both of those, as they're inextricably pulled towards the person for whom they have sinned against, even into themselves. You know, it is not an accident that both of those scenes look quite similar. Everything is a choice. Everything is intentional.
Mommy? Daddy?
So that's definitely something that they wanted to evoke. The fact that despite their differences, these two women are bonded by more than they realize.
And I think those are the moments that really make me excited to talk to the directors, because it looks beautiful. And I think when you can make something that gross so visually enthralling, it's no surprise that we're here where we are with the It franchise. Like, it's just so remarkable. I also loved the moment where we saw all those missing kid posters. And I put love in air quotes because I think that when I think about this era and the milk carton kids, you know, this is the kind of thing that haunts towns for generations. And yet Derry likes to look so beautiful. It's so bright and it's so colorful. And every time we get those moments that remind us that bad things constantly happen here, and yet it still looks as pretty.
It keeps turning, and it's also the idea that rather than process our trauma and learn to heal from it, Derry is a place that paints over it. At the end of the episode, like, we start getting some answers, right? We start getting, why did General Shaw, played by the great James Remar, invent this whole, like, hazing, racist thing towards Leroy Hanlon? Like, what was this all about? It's like, well, he needs a man without fear.
I've been looking for someone like you for a long, long time. It was a test, son, and you passed.
What he needs Matt Murdock, but he doesn't know that yet.
Right. hasn't been invented yet. Soon.
Hasn't been invented yet, but he needs himself a daredevil, and he's been looking for a man like him for a very long time. And so why is he looking for a man like him? What has Dick Hallorann been using his powers to find in these various dig sites? I had assumed it was going to be some, like, First Nations indigenous artifact that had been buried in the wild. No, it's like a 1920s roadster.
Same thing, you know?
Same diff. Same diff.
I think it's so telling that it's like you have this very talented psychic man and they're like, what if we can find a weapon?
Yes. What's the weapon we're looking for? It's an old car filled with dead bodies.
But again, I just love how the mystery is just slowly unfolding and being crafted. What's in the car? What's in the car?
Yeah, I knew we were a little too early for it to be like a Plymouth Fury. It wasn't going to be Christine, you know? And then I was like, oh, is it like a Buick 8? Like, oh, I don't think it's going to be one of those. But, like, how is this going to connect with, A, our front story and all of those things that are happening, and B, the sort of greater, larger king lore of it all? And that's always exciting. Like, where are we going?
Where are we going?
Beginnings are a very tantalizing time, and we are smack dab in the middle of the beginning.
To understand how this new beginning came to life,
we turned back to the minds who built it.
Executive producers Andy and Barbara Muschietti, the sibling duo behind it, and the architects behind Welcome to Derry.
Andy also directed this episode, setting the tone for everything still to come. Hey, Andy and Barbara.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Princess. How are you guys doing?
Hi, Mark and Princess.
Happy to have you back.
It is so great to be back with you both. So in this episode, we get to meet Charlotte Hanlon, played by the amazing Taylor Page.
So you passing through?
Oh, I actually just moved in. I suppose I do really stick out around here.
And this is a new character. And the scene that we see her breaking up the street fight is just really interesting because it's like her getting into conflict right away and showing her to be like a very active personality.
Why is no one stopping this?
Boys will be boys. What are you gonna do?
So talk to us about the process of creating this character and bringing her to life with Taylor and casting her in this role.
Yeah. So by design, the character of Charlotte, we really wanted to bring nuance in this family. who are the grandparents of Mike Hanlon, who are the parents of Will Hanlon. And we knew that Leroy was going to be a pilot. It kind of started with that. Find a reason for the Hanlon family to move in and intertwine their lives with the bigger plot, which is, the air base and General Shaw and his plan. So we started with that. And then, we started playing with the idea of, okay, who is Charlotte? Wouldn't it be interesting to have a husband and wife that have a different worldview, or they have a worldview that when they met for the first time didn't come to the surface, but over the years things happen in their environment that make them like grow apart in terms of how they see the world. So we thought it was a great idea to have on one side Leroy, who is a guy that believes in the system. He's in the military, and against all predictions is a guy that actually believes in the military and that everything that is wrong with America can be fixed by everything that is right with America. And on the other side, we have Charlotte, who is married to Leroy, and she doesn't believe that the system works. And she's involved in the civil rights movement, and she's been fighting for her community for years. And that we thought it would be a very good start point for this family to be a united family, but with a bit of a fracture inside.
Did anything like that happen for you today at school? Any bullies? No. Mom. This isn't about embarrassing you. This is about what's right and wrong.
And isn't it wrong to embarrass your only son the first week of school?
Don't get cute with me. You didn't see those kids.
And the boy's right, Shaw. You should leave it alone.
Is that an order, Major?
After Shreveport, I think the last thing that you need to get is involved.
Can you guys stop fighting?
We're not fighting.
And also, they're coming from the South and they're seeing this opportunity to come to Maine as, as a positive, thinking that it would be a different experience.
Well, that's what Leroy wishes, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Charlotte is not happy that she's taken away from an environment where she could actually do something for her community. And so this is a character that basically puts her body, in the course of danger to defend her community. And is married to a guy that says everything is fine. We just have to play by the rules. And you see that in almost every scene. We see that basically that dichotomy come to the surface. He will never grow enough to erode the family, but it's on that uncertain direction, and we see it. And I think that the bigger external plot that they're thrown into will help them somehow come to terms with those differences and work together as a family.
It was when we were doing the mini room, we had the great Cord Jefferson with us, and Cord, I think, was the one that defined the personality of the Leroy character. And I think it has heavy inspiration in his father, actually.
Mm-hmm.
How early on in the development of the show did you discover that race was going to play as big a part in it as it does?
Very early.
Very early. I think it's from the beginning.
Yeah.
The moment that we decided to put the Hanlons, on the spotlight, tell the story. There's a reason why we're telling the story of the Hanlons, being Mike Hanlon, arguably the guy that basically harnessed everyone to kill Pennywise. Not arguably, he actually does it. He's the guy that stayed in town. He's the guy that knows more about it through his, investigations and research. All the interludes are in the book. All the interludes are the product of his desire to understand it. So it only makes sense that we go back and see where Mike comes from and what are the predicament that his family went through in the previous cycle. And Charlotte, a little thing about Charlotte, her character, the nuances of her character were actually discovered on set. She's a tremendous actress. And but I saw her moving. She's a dancer.
Taylor is the greatest human being. She's just a hoot and a mountain of joy.
There's a fire in her. There's a kind of hyperactive nature that I wanted to put on the character. There's certain things that you talk about before going to camera, but it wasn't until we were there that I saw her, over the course of some days before shooting, and I saw her and I was like, this is what Charlotte is. She's hyperactive. She has an impulsive nature. that drives her to do. I mean, of course, she has like a very solid moral compass, but also the way she does things. That's why you see her in many scenes. She's like invested in some kind of chaos. You know, in the middle of dinner, she's like talking about the event the situation with the kids and the beating up with the bullies. They're talking about moral height and the kids that, you know, should be tall in heart and soul.
How about boys will be kind? Boys will stand up. Boys will be tall in their integrity and their hearts.
And in the middle of the conversation, she just changes subject and she grabs her kid and puts it on the wall and measures.
Boys will be measured by their mamas in their new house. Come on.
All in a great Shreveport accent. She does a beautiful Shreveport accent. And, but we had, even before the first time we talked to her, and we knew it was going to be her. We wanted her, and we just...
Taylor has a magic that is there that is undeniable.
And that magic Andy mentioned, you feel it the second Taylor Page walks on screen. Charlotte Hanlon brings this steady warmth into Derry until, of course, Derry twists it.
Because in Derry, even courage has consequences.
Which brings us two of the episode's most chilling moments where love, fear, and guilt turn into something truly monstrous, actual monsters.
Womb creatures, pickle jar monsters. We asked the Muschiettis how they crafted these particular nightmares and what those nightmares reveal about the world they're building.
So we knew that from the beginning that Ronnie's mother was not in the picture. She died at birth. And of course, that would be something that when the moment comes, it would take advantage of. So we only know that her mom died at birth, and Ronnie has a picture of her on the bedside table. And in the picture, she's wearing a wedding dress that more or less paints the picture of how far she got. And yeah, so I think that there's a deal of guilt in Ronnie that is kind of like conscious or not, but I think there's guilt buried deep inside because somehow she, again, conscious or unconsciously, she might feel that she was responsible for the death of her mom. And of course, it's something that Pennywise takes advantage of. So in the middle of the night, she's sleeping and she's hearing the discussion, the argument between Hank and Luella, her grandmother and dad.
Ronnie, please. Don't you search me. You ain't the only one with the keys to that theater.
And she doesn't want to hear about it, and so she goes under the sheets. And suddenly the bed starts pulsating like a heartbeat. And for all of you who've seen the scene, you know how this ends. Very soon, she's trapped in her mom's womb. The bed becomes her mom's womb, and she's like drowning in amniotic liquid. And she gotta get out of there. So she pierces through the womb and the belly, and it's all disastrous. And when you think that she's finally safe, that's when the actual nightmare happens, because she's still connected to her mother with an umbilical cord. And that's not the worst of it, because now the umbilical cord starts pulling her back into her mom's belly, and the bed becomes her mom.
You told me about Ronnie. Mommy?
So it's a bit of a surreal monster, which is graphically very unsettling, because we see like the head of mom just popping up, and what used to be the headboards, now it's actually her arms.
I wanted what's to hold my baby.
And you killed me. Like you killed those kids. Like you're gonna kill your father.
I'm very proud of the design and the construction in general of that scare, because it's kind of not a slow burn, because it's very intense all the way.
And that's when you realize that HBO is not TV.
Exactly. They've been saying that for a while.
It took us, I'm going to say, we started shooting that in I believe it was May of 23. And we were still shooting it in December of 23 and then February of 24. All the elements, basically. Not that, we were reshooting, but the elements that it took and having to go through 2 strikes made us having to keep collecting the elements.
And the effort that everyone put on, especially the actors. I mean, the effort was incredible. Like we shot it in so many parts because every shot has a different technique of special effect construction. The camera, where the camera had to be, we had to design it's almost like every shot has a different technique. So the actors were basically Amanda Christine, who's an amazing actress. She was like soaked in this goop, I would say, for days.
While studying for her exams. So she was having the best time.
And not only that, but also in a state of anxiety that the performance required that is like unsustainable. I don't know how she did it, but she was incredible. And also with Tanika, who played Mom, again, a level of like screaming and crying and shouting that was like superhuman.
Not afraid of spitting and crying.
A lot of moisture in the air. And did you know that there were going to be these 2 childbirth, like when you were storyboarding it, did you plan for it to be these 2 back-to-back childbirth trauma scenes?
No, I think we made sense of it once we had them.
Okay. You're like, this will be a good synergy.
Yeah, but I mean, also there's a subliminal reason why we probably put them together without knowing. And at the end, I can say like the horror of childbirth is something that we kind of always like come back with, even without thinking too much about it. It's also linked to the origin in the book. Like none of the losers have children, right? When they grow up. The part where they all adults and they come back and they realize at one point that, wait, none of us had children. Why? And I think it's related to the idea that bringing kids to this world of horror, and I'm not talking about it anymore. I'm talking about, it is a metaphor of how fucked up this world is. And bringing a child to this world is a matter of concern. Mm-hmm. Childbirth in itself is like, a catastrophic spectacle where there's blood and, and guts and fluids of all kinds.
And while we were developing this show, Andy had 2 children.
And then you learn, the more you learn. And then, I lived in the flesh, the concerns of having put a child on this earth, a defenseless child that it only will survive only if you're there to protect. So, yeah, it's all part of the same theme.
Okay, we got to talk about that grocery store scene.
Hi, Lily.
Hi, Mr. Janko.
Your mother sent you shopping again?
She's working a double shift.
If you need anything up high, ask.
Thanks.
Barbara, you spoke last week about your love for musicals. This felt like a musical sequence to me. It felt as if, there's a lot of choreography, there's a lot of scenery shifting, there's a lot of surrealistic, kind of almost abstract. Talk about kind of conjuring that vibe from that scene.
That's why we have to do a musical, Andy.
We're trying to squeeze a musical in everything we do.
Yeah.
And we fail. No, yeah, there's a theatrical element to it, obviously, which is, again, it all comes from what it would do. It's playful, like, perverse way of scaring people to death.
And the era as well, right? Which it was the golden time of musicals.
There is a rhythmic element to it. There's a theatrical element to it, as you said, with the sliding shelves. And there's actually a guy dancing in it. But again, this wasn't, the guy dancing was not planned. The guy at all was not planned. The guy who appears in the hallway that seems to be the one who stalks Lily more over the scene is a guy that I saw, and he was part of the background. Of course, we designed the scene in general, but I knew that I was going to find things to make it more spicy. I used to be more concise with the things, I'm a storyboarder. I used to storyboard for a living. And so my first movie, I did the whole storyboard of the film, and everything was pretty structured, and the camera should do this and that. And over the years and over the movies, I started feeling more comfortable to leaving that structure, aside apart from obviously the shots that are very specific, the camera does this and that, but it doesn't have to be the whole scene. And definitely doesn't have to be the whole performance. So more and more, I'm inclined to discover things with the elements that were brought together, because that's how certain things come alive, certain things that you would never write come into focus when you're there, when the actor is there and the backdrop is there and you see perfectly what the shot is. And so that's how it happened. I saw this guy and I'm like, this guy is amazing. He wasn't supposed to be performing all of that. And I asked him, can you dance? And he said, no. And I said, okay, dance.
And the fishmonger is our location manager. So it all stays in the family.
Nice.
Also, it makes it fun. There's an element that I pledge to for the rest of my career, if there's any. It's like, I don't want to go into sad sets or dry sets or where people don't want to be there because there's nothing in front of the camera that is actually exciting.
Mm-hmm. Or sets that don't smell like pickles for days. We
Exactly.
love that, don't we? We shot with real pickles.
And real pickle juice.
And real pickle juice.
Stinge.
And the studio where we were shooting, Cinespace, smelled like pickles for about a week.
Yeah.
Delicious.
And that, the whole Lily thing, the scare of the father that died, a bit of a callback to Gremlins when Phoebe Cates is talking about how her dad died in the chimney and they didn't find him for 2 weeks, trying to be Santa Claus. There's a bit of a homage to there in episode 1 when Lily's telling the story of her dad that died in a pickle factory accident. We don't see any images, but just it's a shot of her telling it, and the camera slowly approaches, and she just describes, not in detail, but you can imagine. That's what's so great, I think, about the scene. It's like the guy was there and tried to fix a machine and fell into the gears, and he was sliced into 1,000 pieces like a pickle. And then the other dark side of that equation is that the talk of the town is that different pieces of her dad were found in different jars in grocery stores all over Maine. That's the malicious rumor part of it, but I think we concocted a nice little legend there.
Derry's horrors take many shapes, but sometimes the most terrifying ones aren't monsters at all.
Which brings us to a place I know all too well, Juniper Hill.
The infamous asylum that's housed some of Stephen King's most disturbed minds, and now a key part of Welcome to Derry. So what's so exciting is at the end of the episode, well, exciting for us, not so much for Lily, we get a glimpse of Juniper Hill at the end. And I was just so curious why you decided to include that as part of the Welcome to Derry universe, and just in general how you chose to expand into other sort of King lore at certain points without, overexerting yourself.
Juniper Hill is a movie, I'm telling you.
Ooh. Okay, spin-off.
Yes. Next Halloween, we need it.
So I think Juniper Hill comes from the need to layer the character of Lily and illustrating how bad, life is for someone that lost her father in such a, traumatic way, had a mental breakdown. And not only that, but also she's ostracized and laughed at by everyone around her because she's loony Lily Bainbridge. So a person like that would end up in a situation like this in Juniper Hill, which is basically the mental health institute where everyone ends up if you live in Derry. Mm-hmm. And that's how we brought it back. There's a tradition, of course, of Juniper Hill where Henry Bowers in the movie ends up. In the book, Juniper Hill is, where Henry Bowers ends up as an adult, and he's rescued by one of his dead comrades and brought back to fight the losers. That kind of, environments are always scary, I think.
And if there ever was a season 2, there would be a little moment at Juniper Hill.
Excited.
Yeah, it's funny when Princess and I were talking about that episode, and the minute we get to Juniper Hill, I told her, it's like, I've been to Juniper Hill before. I've been to Juniper Hill with Bill Skarsgård before because I was on the staff of Castle Rock, and I wrote the episode where Bill Skarsgård's where the kid.
It's a crossover episode.
Yeah. That's true. That's
And
true.
I was
That's
like,
true.
I've been here before.
And you were on set.
I was on set. Yeah. I was on
Amazing.
set.
That's a great show, by the way. Great
Where
show.
was your Juniper Hill?
We shot everything in Orange, Massachusetts.
Okay, wonderful.
Doubling from Maine. And in the fall. So we got the leaves changing and the oppressive sadness of rural Northeast America.
Well, our Juniper Hill in the films is in one place, and our Juniper Hill of now, of season 1, is right in front of the Niagara Falls, right in front, as in it faces the Niagara Falls.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
It's fascinating.
If it wasn't Derry, we would have panned the camera. Only if the show wasn't called Welcome to Derry, we would have done a beautiful pan to the falls.
The nicest insane asylum ever.
Heartbreak feels good in a place like this. Oh my gosh, before we wrap up, we have to talk about Dick Hallorann, because Mark and I were talking earlier about how we love that he shows up in this episode with his special privileges. So I guess the question that we both asked is, like, we bring in Dick Hallorann, and like, what was the decision about that and bringing him in? Because that's like a big character get.
Well, Dick Hallorann is, in the book, he is one of the people who are in the black spot. Mm-hmm. His sole presence there for us, sparked a desire to know what Dick Hallorann was doing in the black spot. Mm-hmm. And it was very inviting, obviously. This is Stephen King putting a character from The Shining years before the events of The Shining in an airbase in Maine. And we thought it was a great opportunity. And we basically built a backstory, which is very relevant to the events. And there's a very specific reason. It's not that Dick Hallorann was there by chance. We will know that there's a very precise motive why Dick is there.
And he's reluctant, he's a reluctant character at that age in his life. When we meet him in The Shining, he's the wise person, right? He's the person that understands what's going on. In Welcome to Derry, season 1, we meet a much younger guy that is, struggling.
He's struggling because he's, well, I'm not going to spoil this.
No, that's fine.
Struggling, but there's a very specific reason why Dick Hallorann is there. He's been summoned for something particular.
And Chris Chalk plays him so powerfully and beautifully. He's just an extraordinary. We have like the best cast, man. Yeah. It's just amazing. Everybody is just unreal, and I think all the characters grew because of it. As soon as they would step in the frame, it was like, oh, this is going to be bigger than we thought.
Can you talk a little bit about the challenges that come with including a character like Dick Hallorann, where the audience is fairly certain he's going to survive the events of this season? What's the challenge of creating peril for somebody like that?
Well, the truth is that tension is not diminished by the fact that we know that he survives, because there's so many stakes at that point.
And also, we start, our first episode tells you that nothing is certain.
Yeah.
Well, but
it doesn't matter.
So I think at that point in the series, we are so worried about, the well-being of so many other people that having, the certainty that Dick will make it out alive is not a big deal. And I think the tension relies more on how is he going to survive more than is he going to survive.
Thank you so much, Andy and Barbara, for being here. We cannot wait to see where the rest of the series goes. It was brilliant talking to you. And I hope you get that musical. We're going to start campaigning for it now.
Thank you, Princess. Thank you, Mark. It was lovely talking to you, and more soon.
Thank you.
So, Jars of Body Parts, a classic Derry bedtime story.
And when those stories turn into something you can actually see on screen, like we just did, is usually thanks to creature designers.
We wanted to learn more about the creative process of building terrifying monsters like we see in Welcome to Derry. So I sat down with creature designer Vincent Proce, whose work can be seen in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, Smile, It Chapter 2, and of course, Welcome to Derry. And he goes by Vince with me. We're friends now. He follows me on Instagram.
Vince is fine. Vince is cool.
I wanted to understand how he even began to dream up some of these twisted things into being. But first, I geeked out about how he designed some of my favorite Magic the Gathering creatures. I will just say as a quick aside, I have many copies of your Abomination of Llanowar. It has gotten me through so many brutal elf balls. So thank you for that.
Nice. You got the Ulamog too?
Oh, yeah. I got the Ulamog. I've got the Chandra. But yeah, after we got into it, I asked him about how the ideas of childhood and childhood fear reveal themselves in his designs.
Well, to be honest, I was raised in a haunted house.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it was it was just common to have shit happening all the time, and we all just kind of treated it as a normal everyday event. I mean, we have photos with literal monsters in the background and stuff like that. And I've always kind of gotten used to it. It's kind of like it's not necessarily a happy place, I should say, but it's a normal place, So for me, kind of throwing myself into these characters and what they feel about these things. And it's Pennywise, he's such a fucking jerk. He will grasp onto these little things that you fucking, that terrorize you, and he just blows them so far out of proportion and just makes those fears even worse.
And it seems like in this world, a lot of the creatures play on this idea of mutations or hybrid. How do you create those kinds of monsters? Like, what's your creative process? And what is the emotion that you're chasing when you know a design is right?
So Andy is very involved.
Okay.
Most directors that I work with, they have a very clear idea of what they're looking for. And it's my job to interpret that. Andy just so happens to be an amazing artist too. So he does a lot of sketches himself and will throw them over the fence at me and say, it's something like that, it's closer to this. And then a lot of times I'll do like transitional drawings, like drawings that start with the character as a normal thing and then them morphing into the thing that they are. And sometimes he likes the one that's in the middle and not necessarily the one that's at the end, So it's like molding and shaping, and throwing stuff back and forth. It's so collaborative. I mean, you wouldn't believe how collaborative all these projects are. I mean, there's like 20 people touching everything and making it become what it is. And it's just so exciting and so enriching, to your soul.
There was the kind of humanoid arachnid that we saw in It Chapter 2. Was the mutant baby like a new thing that you guys put together? Was it like Andy's idea and you brought it to life again?
So yeah, that was in there early on. What it became, I mean, again, that was one of the first things that I worked on. And I just did some pencil drawings of the thing, but there's so much to work on through this entire show that I was kind of jumping around a lot. I did mostly what I was involved in was the previs of everything. I was kind of like the foundation. And then it became this thing that grew into this giant baby, which I don't remember that from the script, but it became like that giant thing and it's crawling over the seats and it's like on the other side of the seats. And every time you see it, it's just a little bigger and it's got those eye holes that are just holes, and then the baby down here has got the real eyes. And it's like, oh, it was just so awesome. And just the way it's fumbling around because it can't really get a good wing flapping, because one wing is too small. It's just so good, and the tearing of things, and it was difficult to watch the children. I have to say, it's very difficult to watch that. I mean, especially nowadays because everything is just so crazy. But the kid that is Phil in the movie theater, he's played by Jack Malloy. He reminds me so much of Andy. I felt like he was Andy as a kid, and I'm not sure if Andy even noticed it himself, or maybe he chose the guy because he's so much like him. But he really does seem a lot like Andy, and just in his interest level and his just how charming he is, and how he's kind of a handsome kid. He's taller, and he reminded me of Andy a lot, and I thought that was very charming. Too bad he died.
Yeah, R.I.P. It was one of those moments because it almost looks like one of those baby dolls, like, that falls apart and gets kind of like gooky in the eyes. So all I could think is just like all my dolls that have melted away and now have come back to haunt me.
Exactly. It's like you left them outside for like 7 years and then you bring them back inside and this is what they look like with something growing out of the side. They look like their organs kind of on the outside of its body and everything too. I mean, that's like one of those like crazy ass sick things that Andy comes up with. He's just, dude is awesome.
Why monsters? Why the macabre? Why were you drawn to creating these creatures and just making incredible art?
It's kind of my my normal place to be around the supernatural. These, it kind of follows you too. This isn't, once you're kind of open up to that supernatural thing, you kind of feel it around you all the time, and it's weird. But it's there, and a lot of us have it, I'm not sure if you do, but a lot of us do. And I think that's part of it. I was raised to draw. I started drawing when I was like 2 years old. So I've always kind of been attracted to monsters in general. My dad always turned us on to like the early monsters, the Abbott Costello and all that kind of stuff, Frankenstein and all that. And it kind of just grew from there. So yeah, and it's fortunate because a lot of people really, like out in the world and everything, a lot of people are really into the idea of horror. And, for me, a lot of times I like putting a face on the thing that is horrible. If you have something that you can place that's out here and you know where to put it, it's like in reality, like horrors and evilness comes from all kinds of very normal things that aren't going to bite your head off or rip your arm off or anything, So having something that this is where it is and this is what we have to defeat, it's like something we could focus on, and, So it's like you kind of ball all that stuff up into the monsters. And the paintings that I make when I'm creating paintings, I do a lot of traditional work at home just for myself. I put a lot of this feeling and a lot of this fear and anger and into these things, and it kind of is like a therapy, it kind of brings this stuff out of me, and it lets me be able to put it over here on this piece of paper and lock it up inside a sketchbook, and then it's gone. Or it's in a painting and it's on the wall and I could look at it and give it the finger, and just be like, get out of my head, you.
Draw it out there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like kind of like bringing it out of me and putting it out into the world, and, and people really dig it. People love being horrified and looking at horrible things and and being scared.
Vincent, thank you so much for popping in today and chatting about your creative process. You're brilliant. I'm so excited to experience more of your creatures in the rest of this season and to buy more magic cards that you drew.
Okay. Thank you very much, Princess Weeks. It was really fun talking to you guys. I've never done one of these things in such a small coffin-like room. But yeah, it kind of fits the whole scene,
That's it for today, but we'll be back next week, same time, same place, to dig even deeper into Derry secrets.
And we'll do that digging with Kimberly Guerrero, who plays Rose.
And writers and showrunners Brad Caleb Kane and Jason Fuchs.
See you next week. The It Welcome to Derry podcast is a production of HBO in collaboration with Spoke Media. The show is hosted by me, Mark Bernardin, and Princess Weeks.
Jenna Burnett is our senior producer, and Tess Ryan is our supervising producer.
Our associate producer is Addie Vaughn, with help from Montserrat Rodriguez.
Sound design and mix by Sammy Syret.
Our executive producer for Spoke Media is Aliyah Tavakolian.
Special thanks to Michael Gluckstadt, Allison Cohen-Sorokach, Kenya Reyes, and Aaron Kelly from the HBO Max podcast team.
Thanks for listening, and see you next week.